Hello, beautiful people. Happy new week. Welcome to yet another episode of You Are Not Ordinary podcast. I was just here reflecting on my journey of growth and healing to who I am today. And when I think of it, it's been such a rough patch. And nobody talks about how healing unveils all the versions of ourselves, the good, the ugly, and we still have to fall in love with them. It's crazy. Back in 2019, 2020, and 2021 is when I went through my shedding and rebirth. It took me being a mess, not knowing who I was and trying to figure who I am. It took failing, disappointing people, falling into depression, going through therapy, and finally accepting my mess and starting my healing journey for me to be who I am today. It's been a journey. There's one thing my therapist told me that made a 360 turn of my life, that I was busy living in other people's houses, living under the rules of their houses, cleaning their houses, that I forgot my own, that my own house was shattered, was dirty, was uncouth, and it was time for me to start cleaning my own and creating order. And by house, I meant my own life. And that's when I took ownership and started collecting one piece at a time to ensure I changed my life. Healing is not an easy journey. As you're collecting those pieces one at a time, you can even get cut and injured by the broken pieces, right? But you have to keep going. And that's why on today's episode, I'll share some of the life lessons that have changed my life. And I continue to practice every day to ensure my house stays in order. Healing never stops. We're always growing and changing and evolving and learning of ourselves in different seasons, because different seasons sometimes they unveil different people, right? But for my first lesson, the one that I will always stand for and by and defend everything, is putting God first and always letting Him take the wheel of your life. As humans, we are so used to controlling and planning everything according to how we want things to turn out, right? And we forget about God's will for us. I learned to always dedicate everything to God by asking for guidance, asking for redirection if it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Of course, sometimes I plan and do everything without seeking guidance. And most of the times when it fails, God normally asks me, are you done trying? Now let me be God. Let me now take the wheel. And God is so gracious. And if you involve him in everything in your life, you'll be surprised by how effortless and smooth things work out for you. And if things don't go how you thought they would, He give us this wild inner peace and understanding that it wasn't meant to happen like that, or maybe it's not the right time, and you have to keep trusting in Him. Like, for example, sometimes things don't work out how we want them to. We're there questioning God, maybe getting angry and frustrated, but God is maybe working on our situations. Because there's a time I was telling one of my friends, sometimes one door doesn't open because God is creating a way for you. God is opening the other doors for you. So if this door is closed, He's preparing the runway for you, so that when it's time for you to take off, you take off with nothing stopping you, nothing blocking you. So if it's taking too long, if there's one thing that you're looking forward to or you're praying for and it's taking too long, just keep trusting God, because He's opening other doors for you. He doesn't want to open this one door and then you go to the next door, it's blocked and locked. So just keep trusting God and let God take the wheel of your life. Okay? My second lesson is living your life on your own terms and rules. For a long time, I lived my life in a bubble of others' expectations of me, and since that's not who I am or who I'm meant to be, it's gonna be hard to sustain that for sure. And therefore, all that hassle of trying to please or meet the expectations set out for me, it leads to demotivation, it leads to exhaustion, it leads to failure, time over time, depression, and even losing touch with who we truly are. But it comes a time where one decides to do the things that truly align with who you truly are, things that make you happy. You start operating on your own clock instead of another person's timer, and you make your own rules of how you want to live your life. And there's nothing freeing as the freedom to be who you are without fear of failing or disappointing people. Because now, if you fail or not meet the certain standards that you've put for yourself, you're answerable to yourself. And since you can't lie to yourself, you work harder to do better and be better. So I learned to start living my truest self, that you can lie to other people, but you can never lie to yourself. For example, you might be smiling out in the broad light, but when you go to your home, you're crying yourself to sleep. Why not do yourself a favor and maybe start being honest with yourself? And that is always the first step to healing things that maybe you've been running away from or you've never come to terms with about yourself. That's when you start healing. Once you accept who you are, once you start living in your truest self. Okay? Lesson number 3, life is like seasons. Each season comes to pass. All of us are a witness to this. A few months you might have been in your, a few months ago, you might have been in your worst. Maybe things were not going right. Maybe you lost your job. You didn't have meaning and whatever it is that you had going on. But if you look at yourself today, are the things the same? No, they aren't, right? Aren't you the one who's maybe reporting to that job early in the AM? Aren't you happy now? Is whatever that maybe was troubling and stressing you already not working? And vice versa, you might have been happy and everything going well, and today maybe everything or nothing makes sense. You have to always constantly tell yourself that it's gonna come to pass. You need to go through the season, and more so you grow through it. We don't go through things for nothing. Always ask God to show you why is it that you're in that season. Sometimes you won't even understand why you're in it, but when it comes to pass and you look back, you'll be there thanking God that you went through that, because it maybe taught you to be stronger. It revealed some people's characters. It was maybe a delay before your big blessing, and so on and so on. For me, there's things I've gone through that I have so many reasons to complain about, but instead, I thank God, because if it wasn't for that season of my life, this version that I have today wouldn't exist. I wouldn't have gone to therapy. I wouldn't have shed some skin that season made me shed. So if you are there and you're going through something, be encouraged that it's gonna pass. It's gonna come to pass. But it won't pass if its purpose is not fulfilled. So stop looking at it as, why is this happening to me? But ask God, what is this season teaching me? Okay? My 4th lesson is gratitude. Making gratitude your lifestyle. A grateful heart is a content heart. Just imagine you live your life every single day thanking God for everything. Don't you think He'll wanna give you more things to be grateful? I have personally learned to always find something in my life to say thank you to God for. Like yesterday, my partner was cooking and he just told me, babe, we're so blessed. And I was like, oh yes, we truly are. And I asked him, what made you say that? And he said, we have everything in the kitchen. We need to cook. I'm like, oh, like to someone, that may look like a normal thing and blah, blah, blah. But to us, we look at every single thing as a blessing, because in the same blessing, there's someone else who lack that thing that we take for granted. So I personally live my life thanking God for every detail in my life because I know it's all by His grace. And when you start looking at everything as a blessing, you won't have to complain all the time of what you don't have. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Okay? My number 5 lesson is always protect your energy, protect your home, protect everything that's dear or close to you. I can preach this all day, every day, because we live in a life where you can't be smiling with someone on a daily, sharing your good news and whatever is going on in your life. But that person is full of other ulterior motives within them. You're sharing your news from a point of happiness and gratitude, but someone is receiving the news with an ear and attitude of jealousy and questioning why is it only happening to you and not them. I'm a firm believer of the people we keep around us can either increase our blessings and elevate us or the opposite of that. If the people around you are always radiating the energy of complaining, dissatisfaction, scarcity mentality, lazy energy, envy, name it all, you think you're far away from that? No. That's why for me, it's always important to discern the people around me. I always pray that God puts the right people in my life and take away those that are not for me. And when it comes to, let's say, my home, my peaceful space, I want good energy, good vibes, peace. And that's why I won't just let anyone come in, you know? All I'm trying to say is we've all seen in the media that maybe the friend of this ended their life or spiked their drink because they were jealous of how they were living and all that. I'm not even saying I have things for someone to be jealous of, but you never know. Some people out there are mad, even seeing other people smiling and laughing. And since they are living dissatisfied lives and misery loves company, they'll try to do anything to take away that which they don't like seeing in you, right? So always protect everything in your life with prayers and seek the spirit of discernment to know what is for you and what's not. Okay? My number 6 lesson, not everyone is for you. Some people come to your life for a reason and a season. I'm not the best person to talk about friendship and stuff. Not that I'm not a good friend or maybe I'm a bad, I don't know, but I just believe like friendship is such a broad, dynamic thing, and each of the dynamic is different, you know. But for what I know and for what I live by, for me, I've never been a big clique or a big circle of friends kind of person. Since I was in primary and high school, I always have like this 4 or 5 people, but I've grown and outgrown some situations. I've learned that there's never really a correct way of friendship. I have people who some few years ago, maybe we were inseparable, I don't know. And we all knew that what was going on in each other's life and whatnot, right? But that's not the case today, because it came to a point where maybe we were in a different season and we were not in alignment, or maybe some things that I did or they did broke us apart, and all that is okay. That's life. Maybe in that season we needed each other and we had a good time. We did what we did. And in another season we're not together anymore as friends. It doesn't always have to rub off the memories we had, but as you grow, you have to start accepting the reality that not everyone will be with you in all seasons of your life. It's not everything that has to be termed as bad blood, or maybe you start gossiping of the other person and tarnishing their names. No, not everyone is for you, and it's okay to grow and outgrow people. And I'm not saying like changing friends every month, you have a different group in the excuse of people for a reason and a season. No, I know some people who've been friends for 20 years and they're still friends, and that's such a beautiful blessing to have people like those. Hold them dear, okay? But there's people who have long-time friends, years of friendship, but at one point they outgrew each other. Both are okay. all in all, just keep people around you that are real, genuine, and are for you. And if things don't work out, it's okay. It was for a season, a reason, you did your thing, and it's okay. All right? Thank you. Lesson number 7. It's okay to love people from afar. There's this circle of friendship theory. I think most of us have done it in school, where you draw a small circle, another circle, another one around it, another one, and another one, until your circle is expanded. You have like this tiny circle in the middle and a larger one closing it among others of different size on the inside, right? And that demonstration can be interpreted in different ways, but it's generally used to help you place people in your life according to how close they are to you. So assume you're the one standing in the middle of the circle. Who are the 3 or 4 people that you will place closest to you in the circle that's near you? Then in the next line of another circle, you place other people. And as you continue placing people, the ones on the bigger circle are still people in your circle, right? But they are not as close as the 3 or 4 that are near you in that middle small circle, right? So with this analogy, I learned to place people in my life like that, and life became peaceful. Like, I still love you. Yes, I see you. You're my friend. You're my family. But let me love you from the big outer circle. When I first did this circle thing, I was in, I think, primary or high school. And it was mandatory to put like family in the smallest tiny circle that's close to you, because obviously it's family, okay? Or even friends and whatnot. But as you grow, you break from that and know that it's okay to put a family member in the outer, bigger circle. It doesn't change them from being your relative, but you can love them like that if it's giving you peace and sanity. And that applies to friends, work colleagues, and everyone in your life. It's okay to rearrange your circle in the way that serves you, in the way that gives you peace. Okay? My lesson number 8. Don't compare your life to that of someone else. Stay content with yours. This statement right here needs to be emphasized, especially now in this society and era that we live in. Like, we have become greedy and needy and thirsty of other people's lifestyles, lives, their possessions. It's honestly sad how, like, us young people, we use other people's lives as the marking scheme of ours. Since when did lives and lifestyles become intertwined? What happened to staying in our own lane and doing our own things? We are so busy comparing our lives, comparing our standards with that of others, until we have lost touch with who we are, our capabilities, our true abilities and strengths, and even our own blessings. There's that quote that talks about the person with a car wants an aeroplane, the person with a bike wants a car, the person walking or trekking wants a bike, and the person with no legs just wants legs. It's evidently clear that we humans will never be satisfied, but you have to intentionally remind yourself that your life is beautiful and complete as it is. You might not have that thing that you want so bad, but how about as you wait to get it, as you work towards getting it, be content with what you have and stay grateful instead of snooping around other people's lives. We all want to be rich, right? And amen, amen, amen. May every one of you listening to this podcast be blessed abundantly in every point of your need. But you've seen someone who has it all, right? But they don't have like good health, and their only wish is to have that health back. They can lose even that money, that's anything, everything, to have their health back. You've seen people that have things that we crave for and stay up late for, living unfulfilled lives, right? You've seen someone with that dream car of yours, but still they can't drive because, they're bedridden. They're healing from a heel replacement they had few weeks ago, months ago, All I'm trying to say is you need to find contentment in your life. Keep your goals and dreams alive. Don't forget about them, but don't lose yourself in comparison that you forget even the blessings that you have. You're healthy, you can move. You woke up today, you traveled from point A and got to point B safe and sound. You had a plate of food, you slept well, you have a roof over your head, you have beautiful people around you. Come on, you should be soaking in gratitude right now. Remember, there's always someone who has lesser than you. So be content with what you have as you work towards what you need or what you want, okay? And remember, you can always have everything you need in this life. And yeah, contentment. Stop comparing your life with other people. And to my ninth lesson, be yourself. Oh my God, be yourself. In the famous words of the American poet Ralph Emerson, she says, she or he, but yes, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. This means let me repeat that. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Wow. This statement means like shedding all the layers of wanting to be liked, letting other people's opinions of you define you, shifting from living our lives to match that of others or what others want us to be, and so on and so on and so on. It's easy to live in all these worldwide trajectories, especially in the era we're in today. But it takes a lot of self-work, falling in love with ourselves, finding our ground and operating from our most truest self in all settings with no need of faking. When you're authentic and genuine, people even connect with us better. So we need to stop living a lie and creating a world that doesn't exist. Just be you, Accept your flaws, accept your strengths and everything that you entail, and be confident in who you are. Stop being someone else. Stop living like someone else. Be you. Be you. Be yourself, And on the 10th lesson, growth and change are inevitable and part of life. Who I was last year is not who I am today, okay? They say allow me to reintroduce myself. All right? But the problem is some people hold on to the versions of us that no longer exist. And sometimes we might even feel guilty for changing because maybe the people who are close to us, they no longer relate to the new version of us. But growth is something we will never run away from. Sometimes different seasons of our lives, they require different versions of us, right? And you have to come to terms with it that you'll never be the same, always. You're not like a tree planted in one spot. Even trees themselves, they change, they shed their leaves, they grow out new branches, okay? So like, for instance, for me, when I decided to move cities, I definitely had questions because I was leaving behind everything I'm familiar with and going into an unknown world. I was leaving behind my family and some people close to me, but deep down I knew that sometimes we need change to grow. Sometimes we need to take that one risk in order to elevate. I sold everything and moved with only my suitcase. But I had a feeling this was the right move for me. So change will always be constant in our lives. Don't be scared of evolving. If caterpillars don't go through metamorphosis, we wouldn't have all these beautiful butterflies and moths flying around, So change is inevitable. We'll always change. You need to be accepting of change, right? And on the last lesson number 11, love yourself before you before you expect someone else to love you. Or in other words, fill your own cup first before expecting others to. Because if you pour into your own cup and your cup is overflowing and full, whatever else someone comes and adds on top is just a bonus, right? I personally have learned to be comfortable in my own self, like loving and being okay with my own company first before expecting from others, because people can always disappoint us for sure. People won't always show up how you want them to. And you too, you won't always be that person that the other person wants and requires from you all the time, right? But you've got to be your first love. You've got to speak highly of yourself, believe in yourself, in that when the world tries to label you and tell you otherwise from what you believe you are, it won't affect you as much because you already know yourself better, right? I've seen people who can't be themselves and constantly looking for validation from other people. And what happens if they don't give you that? Are you going to start hating yourself now? Love yourself and accept who you are and pour into yourself. You've seen people with maybe insecurities and flaws or imperfections, and they've accepted them. They even make fun of them. So even if someone tries to put them down by using their flaws, you just look at them and laugh, because the person already knows. It's not new news. So we constantly have to fall in love with ourselves. Even the ugliest seasons of our lives, we need to keep falling in love with ourselves and never forgetting who we are, because you're all you've got. Everything and everyone can depart from you, but you'll always have you. So love yourself dearly, okay? And with that, those are my 11 lessons. There's much more lessons, but this one stood out for me, and I hope you learned a thing or two from the lessons. And yes, be yourself, love yourself. Life won't always be linear. We'll go through hard seasons, good seasons, but make sure you grow and evolve through those seasons, okay? Because life will always be beautiful. At the end of the day, light shines, even if we go through the darkest of them days, okay? And yes, with that, I'll come to the end of my episode. Whoa, this is the longest episode I've had in a while, but I hope it inspires you and I hope you learn something. And I hope to see you next week. Same place, same time, same everything, all right? And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're listening from Apple Podcast and Spotify, make sure you rate the show. Is it a show? Yeah. Make sure you rate. Make sure if you can leave a comment on YouTube, do that, because that's the only way I can maybe engage, get feedback, and what not. Okay? Thank you for being here. If you're always listening to these episodes, and may they always bless you. Okay? Have yourself a beautiful, beautiful, blessed week. And take care of yourselves, guys. See you next Monday. Thank you.